Hi, welcome back to The Scent Advocate. Tonight we're going to talk about fragrances that are fit for special occasions. So imagine you're going to a wedding or maybe a corporate event, or who knows, maybe you know royalty or the president or a dignitary. Wherever your formality takes you, these fragrances will get you over the confidence hump and prove you fit in wherever you go. Let's jump right in. Oh, before we do, if you aren't yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel because here we talk about indie and niche fragrances. Primarily, there's some designer brands, but mostly indie and niche. And we talk about everything from newly released fragrances to classics. And if that's something that interests you, definitely consider subscribing. And if at the end of the video you enjoy the content, please give me a thumbs up, and I would love a comment. Whenever I get comments, I read them, I respond to them all, and they just make my day. So please consider commenting. All right, let's jump right in. The first fragrance we're going to talk about, and by the way, I do have notes, is Dance of the Dawn by the Different Company. Now, this fragrance may not be something that you're experienced with, but that's part of what I like to do on this channel, is introduce you to new fragrances, bespoke scent ideas, different houses, and the Different Company is definitely one. So this fragrance is pepper, citrus, incense, iris, patchouli, vanilla. To me, this is a masculine leaning kind of peppery musk, but it's softened up by that iris. And that's what really drew me into it, is its wearability. I love black pepper fragrances, but they can sometimes be a little bit too sharp and off-putting. Not this one. It is seriously softened and made so approachable and pretty with that iris. This is 100 ml. Let's see, I paid about $180 for it, and it's an EDP. Beautiful stuff. The Different Company, Dance of the Dawn. Next, we've got one you've probably heard of. It is Gris Dior by Christian Dior. Oh yes, beautiful stuff. This is a 30 ml. I think I paid about $220 for it. It is a modern sheep. It's a wood, citrus, violet, and oak moss concoction. And where there is oak moss, there is love from me. I absolutely adore oak moss. I think it lends a sense of occasion to a fragrance. It makes it special, stand out, distinguishable from other fragrances. This is warm, cozy, cashmere-like. It's got a evening kind of vibe to it. It is unisex, but I think if I had to call the ball, it leans a little feminine. But a masculine person could definitely wear this. This fragrance is fantastic if you are going from work to a business, formal, or formal event after work. So imagine, a high-ranking booze and schmooze or special dinner for closing a deal, something like that. This is really going to take you throughout your day into the evening. Beautiful stuff. Gris Dior by Christian Dior. Next, we've got another classic, Maison Francis Kirkdjian Grand Soir. This gorgeous fragrance has been in my collection sort of from the beginning. It's amber, vanilla, cinnamon, labdanum, and lavender, but I get kind of a winter citrus out of this. So when I smell this, it makes me think of the holidays, or maybe you have an orange and it's pierced with all of these little cloves, and maybe it's boiling, in a not too expensive but not super cheap red wine. Maybe you're making glühwein or mulled wine, something like that, and it's a cocktail party but everyone's dressed really nice. That's what this is. Now, I've smelled this on masculine people and feminine people, and it is equally gorgeous. I think, gosh, this is probably a true unisex. If I had to call the ball, I don't think I could. I think it just works on everyone. The thing you have to remember with this one is it is strong. So this is an EDP, but it wears like an X straight. So a little goes a long way. If you're going to be around people who are not into fragrance, this can definitely overwhelm them. So take it easy on this. It's amazing. I love it, but a little goes a long way. Grand Soir by MFK. Moving on to what is probably my second most favorite fragrance ever. It is Diaghilev by Roja Parfums. This amazing fragrance is 100 ml. This will go from maybe $600 approximately to maybe $1,200. It just depends on the retailer. This is a classic Chypre. It is prunelle, blackcurrant, and oak moss. This is a force to be reckoned with, and given the price point, it is probably better that you do not blind buy this. I recommend testing it. I did several times, so I had several decants, and I just could not get it out of my head. And so eventually I pulled the trigger. A little goes a long way. This is another one where if you were around folks who are sensitive to fragrance, this is definitely going to be noticed. So you're going to want to be mindful of that. But the feeling it gives me when I wear it is so incredible. I just have to wear it. And I can't imagine how anyone isn't madly in love with this. But alas, there are people out there who have criticized it. I've read it. I don't understand it, but hey, to each their own. Just be mindful that this is a powerhouse, a big powerhouse. Could there ever be a small powerhouse? Be careful, don't overspray unless it's just you and a bunch of other people who love it or love fragrance, in which case, knock yourself out. This is Diaghilev by Roja Parfums. Next, we have, yes, Ombré Nomade by Louis Vuitton. I got this about a year ago at Boutique in the Wynn, Las Vegas, where I do most, maybe not most, but a lot of my fragrance shopping. So the notes for this are officially oud, benzoin, and incense. And by the way, this is 100 ml. I paid about $440 for it, and it is an EDP, but I get a lot of leather out of this. This is definitely a masculine leaning fragrance in my opinion, but it is so delectable. And you want it so much. Even if the want is smelling it on someone else, you'll take it on yourself. It's just, you just want it. And that's how I felt. And I had to have it, regardless of the fact that this definitely leans masculine. I wear it. I get compliments on it when I wear it. I think it's stunning. And again, would work at any sort of formal occasion. This fragrance, believe it or not, I tested this in Las Vegas, right? So I went to the boutique and I got my samples and I wore it for a few days and then I made the purchase just before we left. But it's interesting because I would not recommend wearing this necessarily in the warmer months, but when I reflect back, I did test it in the warmer months. So I think it has to do with where you live. If you're in a dry climate, these heavier fragrances, heavier formal fragrances are not, to me, they wear better in a dry climate. They are more forgiving. because for me, I don't perspire as much when it's very dry, even if it's really hot, like in excess of 100 degrees. And if I do perspire, I don't know, maybe it's evaporating or something and it just doesn't have the opportunity to mix with the fragrance in a way that's negative. But this stuff was incredible when I tested it in Vegas, and I was outside a little bit. Um, so I think it maybe just depends on where you live. So hey, wear it whenever you want, however you want. But I think this is a masculine leaning, a formal occasion, um, gorgeous, heavy, cool weather fragrance. But if you're in a dry climate, warm weather won't hurt. Ombré Nomade by Louis Vuitton. Next, we've got Eau Rihla by Diptyque. This fragrance, I think, is truly unisex. It's a spicy leather, pepper, iris, vanilla. There's supposed to be some saffron in here, but those of you who are familiar with the channel and me know that I really have a hard time picking out saffron. So for me, this is a spicy leather that is a true unisex fragrance. So if you are someone who is feminine and you live with someone who is masculine, this would be an amazing fragrance for the two of you to share, or the multitude of you to share, depending on how many of you there are. This is something that wears great on anybody. It also goes from day to evening really, really well. It's not as strong as some of the other fragrances we've talked about, so that transition from day into evening is just perfect for this. This is 75 ml and it is an EDP. By the way, Rihla, and I love this, it means journey in Arabic. And of course, as you're smelling this, there could be no doubt that this would be perfect if you were going on an evening trek through a desert and it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too chilly. It just gives you that kind of dusty, perfect, perfumed, spicy gorgeousness that, that kind of image in your head connotes. So this is Rihla by Diptyque. Eau Rihla by Diptyque. Next, we have Fragrance du Bois Oud Orange Intense. A stunner. Yeah. This EDP is a 2016 release. This bottle is, let's see, it is 75 ml and it goes for about $455. This fragrance is a boozy, musky fruit oud. According to the research I did, there's also a coconut note in here. I don't love coconut in fragrances. I think it can sometimes be overdone and make it smell a little bit too much like suntan lotion or suntan oil. This isn't that kind of coconut. If there is a coconut note in here, it is so well combined. It is more of an accord that is a blending of many notes as opposed to a standout linear coconut. This fragrance is very formal. This is definitely cooler weather. This is a true unisex, as many of these are, right? Are you noticing that? A true unisex. I think it's more suited for an evening as opposed to daytime, unless it's really, really cold, in which case you do you, wear it whenever you want. But this is just a stunner. And the truth is, I don't hear as much about this as I would have expected. To me, this is as iconic as the MFK Grand Soir. In fact, I bought them close in time, and again, when I think of one, I think of the other, and they don't smell anything alike at all. But maybe, I don't know, I guess the bottles are similarly shaped, but they both have that air of heavy formality to them. You wear this, you're going somewhere special. and you are a force to be reckoned with. Gorgeous stuff. Fragrance du Bois, Oud Orange Intense. All right. And the last selection for the evening, everyone knows this one, right? It is Black Orchid by Tom Ford. This EDP is, I think it's about 50 mil, and it costs about $165. Oh, sorry, 30 mil. And well, the 50 mil costs $165, so the 30 mil is going to be a little bit less. I get a very dark, fruity tobacco, leather, and some cherry among the fruit, by the way. But the official notes are ylang ylang, black orchid, truffle, plum, rum, and patchouli. Sure, all of that makes sense, but for me, this is a very rich, dark fruit. Oh gosh, it's gorgeous. Heavy, very formal. If black or a burgundy velvet had a smell, this would be it. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Very, very strong projection on this, excellent longevity. This is going to be something that if you're around people who are sensitive to fragrance, you're going to want to be careful. I think this is universally likable. I think it leans a little feminine, but I know masculine people who've worn it and it's just incredible. So I think this can actually go either way, but this isn't something I'd be inclined to wear in the warmer weather. But again, the humidity might make a difference in that. So I definitely think the truffle in here is muted. So if you don't like earthy fragrances, I don't think this comes off as earthy. It's dark, formal, soft, beautiful. Gosh. It's a it's its own gem of a fragrance, Tom Ford's Black Orchid. All right, so that's it for this evening. What did you think of the lineup of formal fragrances? Let me know in the comments below. Are there formal fragrances you've worn that I didn't consider? And of course, this is not an exhaustive list. I have a lot of fragrances in my collection, many of which would be fantastic for formal occasions. But I wanted to kind of talk about some that I don't hear mentioned as much these days. And I think that's a shame because they are fantastic. And I always encourage people to shop their collections when they have a sizable collection rather than going out and looking for a new fragrance all the time. When you have a special occasion, see what gems you have in your existing collection and shop that collection. Use those fragrances. They're amazing, especially these. So once again, if you're not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Give me a like, and I'd love it if you'd leave a comment. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.